And then I'm going to and Calfani, I meant to ask you, just so I know, will you have slides or do you not need slides? You have a presentation. If you don't, it's okay.
I've got slides. I can use them. I cannot use them.
Nope. I'm just making you just giving you the ability to share screen when that time comes. So, all right. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Flint. Today is September 17th, 2021. Our honorary bell ringer for September 17th is author and American Revolution historian J.L. Bell. And I think when you study 18th century history, you have to have those sideburns. And you can see the sideburns that come all the way almost down to his chin. And you'll understand a little bit why we have a history of the American Revolution as our honorary bell ringer in a few minutes. So let's have the ringing of the bell. We start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to
Pledge allegiance to the flag
United
United
States,
States of America and to the republic
which it stands, one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice.
liberty and
justice.
justice for all.
Thank you. Rotarians, the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do.
Is
Is
it
it
The truth, is it fair to all
to all
concerned?
concerned?
will
Will be beneficial to all concerned. Today's inspirational message is by Jane Odell. Jane?
Actually, I'm next week, so I am not prepared.
I thought I'm doing it this week.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's right.
Okay. Well, we had an error on our side, so in place of Jane Odell, the irreplaceable Reg Lancaster.
Let us pray. We remember with particular sorrow the victims of degradation and oppression, of neglect and rejection, of torment and torture. Keep alive in our hearts their hurt and their anguish, their cold and their hunger, their despair and their loneliness. Make sleepless our nights of uncaring, unclench the fists that hold back the help we could proffer, and move closer the day when the world of your building will be one in living, when all of earth's people will dwell together in love and at peace, one family praising and blessing their Creator. This we pray. Amen.
Amen. And I see I read the wrong date, so thank you, Reg, and thank you in advance, Jane, for what I'm sure will be a nice message next week.
Sure.
We have two things that we celebrate on September 17th that we may not always realize, but I think it's important that we take the time to recognize. The first is that September 17th is POW MIA Recognition Day. And I'm going to just read the inscription in front of you on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Here rests in honor and glory an American soldier known but to God. Here we have a moment of silence for all POWs and MIAs. Thank you. I'll add, if you've not been or not taken your kids or grandkids to see the tomb and the changing of the guard of the tomb, it is truly one of the great ceremonies of our country that we have. The next is another original thing of America after July 4th, maybe the second most important day in our democracy. On September 17th, 1787, the Constitution of the United States was signed. And I think I just want to read the preamble, although the Constitution itself has been amended many times and continues to be debated to this day, the preamble has remained unchanged. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So I want to make an announcement. If you did not see the weekly message, the board met on Monday, and after a number of meetings and discussions and outreach to members and consultation with past presidents and members of our club who, one in particular who's a public health expert, the board voted unanimously for a return to in-person meetings with a hybrid option for Friday, October 15th. We have worked with the food bank to follow their protocols, make some modifications to our meeting flow, and also make adjustments to allow for a hybrid version as well. So we will have the ability to be in person, but if you still would like to watch the meeting on Zoom, you'll be able to do so. It'll be a little while for us to be able to have a two-way communication where you'll be able to, say, ask a question. That may take a little bit. You may have to type it in instead of being able to talk. We're going to work through some of the tech issues with the food bank. Some things to note, we will mask at the food bank for a group of our size. They're going to require masks when you're not actively eating and drinking. And if you do not have a mask when you come in, we'll have masks available for you if you forget one or you left in your car, we'll have that. But that's the food bank's rule, and we will, as a guest, follow the rules of our host. Our tables were always spread out in a decent way. However, instead of having 6 at a table, it'll be 4 to a table. And so if you think about the room that we used to meet in, that's about 40 people that we'd be able to fit in that room. And so as our in-person, we know that we're going to have a bit of a ramp up and people will come, not come, depending on schedule and other things. If we grow beyond that, what we're going to do is open up that second side of the room where the food was at. We'll also have seating there, and then the orientation of the podium will change a little bit. And so we'll be talking to a little bit larger room. So we'll be more spread out and able to maintain that social distancing a little bit more versus being quite in such close quarters. Just another change that you will note, the door that we enter, not to enter the food bank itself, but the door that we enter the meeting room will be different. You'll actually go down by the door that's past where the food was, almost towards the bathrooms, to go into the meeting room. And that will allow you to go and get your food first. Instead of serving yourself, will be served by food bank staff, and then you'll get your food and then you'll take your seat. That allows us to not have quite a much of a cluster at the food all at once and not having to get up and sit down and maybe have more congestion. There's some more things that we'll be able to announce and share, and we'll have a survey to come out just to gain your understanding and see if you think in the first month or so that you would be attending to allow us to prepare with the food bank for those first few weeks as we begin to come back. We recognize that everyone has a different risk profile. Everyone is living or we're all living our lives a little bit differently amongst one another. Some have immunocompromised people themselves or others in their family, unvaccinated children, and we certainly understand and recognize that they may choose to not come back in person. We also recognize know that can help some. There are those who have missed, I'm one of them, have missed seeing all of you and missed being able to shake hands and fist bump in these cases, but to be able to have those hearty conversations and enjoy each other's company. So we want to make sure that we're going to be able to do that as well. Another change would be we will not be singing for the time being. That's one of the things that if you think about how things coming out of your mouth when you're singing, you're also projecting even with the mask, even with the mask on, you can elevate risk as well. So I want to thank the board. I want to thank past presidents Mike and George. I want to thank Dr. Bobby for their assistance and guidance as we worked through and thought through these decisions for the club, fundamentally based on helping to manage risk and the four-way test guiding us as well. So I'll take questions, but we'll have more discussion about this and more communication meetings through weekly messages. And like I said, through survey, and I think you all have my phone number as well. If you ever want to call or drop me an email, if you don't want to mention something within the club meeting as well. So I'll open the floor if there's any questions. I'd be happy to answer them now. See a thumbs up from Richard Gibbs. Thank you. If there's no questions, I'll ask.
Question, any
Oh, yes.
changes in the cost of meals file, or is that going to be the same, or?
So yes and no. No, there's no change to the overall cost of the Rotary experience, I'll say. What we are looking to do though is that our meal would cost $20, but that will include your raffle tickets. And the reason for that is that allows people to pay and not have to get change and move through the check-in process sooner. There are those who may not wish to partake in raffle because they, for personal reasons, don't want to be involved in anything that's gambling. And in that case, you just wouldn't take the raffle tickets, and that would be you making a $2 donation to the club. So the overall cost of 18 plus 2 won't change, but the cost will be 20, but now it will include your raffle tickets. So you don't have to take those $2 and then walk to the next table. You just pick up your lotto, pick up the raffle tickets and go get your food and sit down. We thank the food bank because certainly having staff serve us, opening up the other room, does add some additional burden to them, and they're not changing the cost that the club pays for that. Great question, Amy. Any other questions? Board members, any announcements that I may have forgotten? I'm not sure that there are any, but
I have a question. What time should we be there?
I would say the time that you normally arrive. If you can get there a little bit before noon, that's fine. If it's right at noon, that's okay as well. We're going to put some other things in place to help speed up our check-in process. One thing that you also can do with that, many of us have credits that have rolled over, but if you would like to pay for, say, a month's worth of meetings at a time, that also allows you to speed up your check-in process. For some people, that means you can spend less time and get there a little earlier and have more time to sit and fellowship. And for others, that means if you're working in person on that day or coming from the house, you can leave a few minutes later as well.
Another question, if you have a guest, how much is that going to be?
That would be the $20 as well, but that would also include your guests would get their raffle tickets included as well.
So it's $20 for the guest as well?
Yep. Yep, which is our cost before, but 18, 24 raffle tickets. And most of us, when we brought a guest, we bought them raffle tickets as well. So the out-of-pocket cost to Rotarians has not changed. And we don't need quite so many ones at the check-in desk as well. All right, if there's no further questions on that announcement or any other announcements, I'll ask for good and welfare. And if there's no good and welfare, are there any guests to be welcomed? I'm not sure that I saw any, but other than we do have Al Tucker, who's not a guest, but he is our assistant governor, and we welcome having you with us, Al.
Thank you.
All right, so that takes us to our speaker introduction and Rotary board member, Mia McNeil. Yeah.
you, President Kyle. Good afternoon, everyone. So last week we heard from Kiara May, the interim executive director for the DDA, and we learned a lot about the placemaking and what those plans are. This week we are going to talk about the economic development of the city. So it is my honor to introduce Kalfani Stevens. He is a seasoned government administrations professional. He returned to his home state of Michigan after successfully redesigning and relaunching a new economic development organization in metropolitan Atlanta. With over a decade of experience, Mr. Stevens has helped many small and large companies attain the resources needed to grow. He has worked with multinational firms as well as startups. He is a fervent believer that economic development is community development and that the two should never be considered in isolation from one another. To that end, he also assists communities with master planning and zoning processes to ensure that the government policies he is ultimately tasked with implementing align with the needs and wants of the community. In addition to his work in economic development, Mr. Stevens is very dedicated to serving the community as a whole. He has served on numerous boards and commissions and is an active member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Committed to lifelong learning, Mr. Stevens is an alumnus of both the University of Michigan, Go Blue, where he received his Bachelor of Arts, and Wayne State University, where he received his Master's of Business Administration and a Postmaster certificate. He is also a certified economic developer, an economic development finance professional, and a Michigan Master Citizen Planner. In addition to English, he speaks fluent French and conversational Spanish. So many accomplishments. I know he's going to have amazing things to tell us today. So welcome, Mr. Kalfani Stevens.
Okay, well, thank you, Mia, and thank you to the Rotary Club for allowing me to come and speak today. I am going to share my screen. And the presentation is really, I'm going to say nothing special, no bells and whistles, just good information. I'll go through this and then I'll really try to save it for questions, all of my time there. The first thing that I want to say is I know that normally you are having lunch and I didn't see very many people eating anything. So if we get through this fast enough, you can go downtown Flint today and go to the food trucks. So they're going to be there until 3 o'clock, and then they'll be there or be open again from 5 until 8. So if you miss them for lunch, you can grab them for dinner. This is part of the Gus Macker thing that they have going on this weekend. So I'll just begin quickly by saying, you know, why Flint? Why would anyone be interested in investing in Flint? Well, the first thing is we've got talent. It's all about the people. In a 30-minute commute, you've got 480,000 workers. And if you make that commute 60 minutes, you've got over 2 million workers. Now, that workforce that we're talking about, 61% of them have some amount of college. About 35% of them have at least an associate's degree. And then coming back specifically into the city itself, we've got over 20,000 college students here on 3 campuses. So when you talk about talent, and to 100 years ago, businesses went where the raw materials were. You know, it was very expensive and tedious to move coal, to move iron ore. And so, you know, we used the Great Lakes to move it, you know, maybe from where it was mined, but the ultimate factories had to be on the lakes in that area. But today, we're not beholden to the raw material, we're beholden to the people. And so the businesses are going where the people are, where the talent is, and Flint has a lot of that. Other reasons why businesses are coming to Flint or why we will want to invest in Flint. It's all about the city itself and what we have. So we have a planning concierge service. I see that one of our Rotary members is also one of our planning commissioners. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do more frequently is to catch people at the beginning of the process and actually ask them, what are you doing? What's happening? What are your goals? What are your timelines? So that we can move them through the process more efficiently. Unfortunately, we don't catch everyone. And there's one young lady that I'm dealing with right now who bought a building, or actually leased the space before she interacted with us. And now she's having issues with that space, but we found a way to work through that as well. We have definitely access to capital programs. A lot of our small businesses, the issue is not that they don't have a great idea. It's not that they don't have the will and the workmanship. They just don't have the access to the money. And so we have some amazing loan programs that really reduce the cost of capital so that they can get going. And then you see on this map here, we have 10 different designated federal opportunity zones for our large investors. So when we talk about Flint, you know, what is the opportunity? Well, the opportunity from an industrial standpoint is location, location, location. We've got I-75 and 475.
Ballinger.
We've got I-75 and 475 running north and south, I-69 running east and west, and we also have CN Railroad. That puts us right smack dab in the center of Lansing, Saginaw, Port Huron / the Canadian border, and the city of Detroit. So in our new manufacturing environment with just-in-time manufacturing, Flint is a great place to be. Either A, if you are a supplier and you're moving your product to a factory to be put together in one of those cities or in any city in between here and there, or the opposite, if your ultimate factory is here in Flint and you are looking to have things brought into you, our location is second to none in Michigan. So who's taking advantage of that? Lear, obviously the automotive supplier. Carroll Tech moved up from Auburn Hills. And so they still have their engineering facility in Auburn Hills, but for their production facility, they needed over 100,000 square feet of space. They chose Flint because of our location and because of the access to that great labor pool that I told you about. They just did that last year and they're already looking to expand yet again here in the area because of our location and our labor force. General Motors, I mean, we all know the history of Flint being the birthplace of General Motors, the expansive growth that we've had, the contraction that the company has had, but they're still here, they're still committed to being here and still making new investments. Priority Waste. If you follow the Flint City Council meetings, you know that Priority Waste now has the garbage contract for residential garbage. But what you didn't know is that before they even got that contract, they received other contracts in the city of Flint, in Genesee County, and that they were already working with us to procure space to be able to perform those contracts. And then homegrown, great organization here, we've got Goyette. Goyette last year was at a crossroads, and they had to decide, were they going to double down and reinvest here in Michigan, or were they going to build a new facility out of state where they were experiencing lots of new growth and projects? Well, ultimately, we were able to convince them, not through incentives, but just through working with them and, you know, moving them through the processes that I told you with our planning concierge services, that Flint was definitely the spot where they wanted to be. We've got commercial opportunities as well. Last week, you heard from our downtown development director, KRMA. And so I'm not going to bore you with the stuff that we've got going on downtown, but I will tell you that just recently, the Flint, the Genesee Group, formerly the Chamber of Commerce, did a study and they found out that 60% of all of the small businesses in Genesee County are in Flint. So that tells us that, you know, we are still the heartbeat, the hub of what's happening in Genesee County. So if you are a small business and you're looking to get up and get started, we've got resources here and we've got a obvious customer base here for you. We have our Eat Shop Love Flint campaign that we're running right now. So what we're doing there is we're taking small businesses and we're highlighting them, and we're just saying, did you know that this organization was in your community? Go support them. We have a very strong small business focus. So the Genesee, the city of Flint has partnered with the Genesee Group and basically split our responsibilities. The Genesee Group really does a lot of the first outreach to the very large corporations like the General Motors, the Lears, or whatever. But our staff is very dedicated towards that small business. So what are the things that they need? Because a lot of times the state is too large of a organization to deal with them. Even the Chamber of Commerce, the Genesee Group, they just don't have the bandwidth to be able to really get down and get out. Because remember, they're not just the city of Flint. They are responsible for all of Genesee County. So they can't get out to every small business. So we've made it our focus to touch every small business in the city. I already told you about our food truck rally today, and that is actually going to be going on. Today is the kickoff, but it'll be going on Sundays through October. And then all of the things that I've said so far, you know, real focus on people. Well, if you're going to have people, people have to have a place to live. And so if you look at a map, if you go to the Flint property portal and look at a map of the city, you'll see that a large amount of the city is actually owned by some governmental entity. The city is currently partnering with the land bank to bring forth a number of new programs that are going to be funneling funds to those properties to get new housing development in the city. Over the course of, say, the past about 25 years, there have been a number of new income restricted housing projects in the city. There have been very few market rate projects. And when I say market rate, I'm not saying that it has to be a $300,000 house, a McMansion, or an apartment building that's going to lease for $2,500 a month plus everything else. I just mean properties that anyone who is willing to pay whatever the cost is allowed to actually live there. We've had very few of those. And so we're really focused on how do we get more of those going forward. And I'm proud to say that we have a couple in the works right now that should be announced by the end of this year. And as that, we have a new focus on neighborhood development. You know, Mia asked me a great question when we were in the breakouts, and it was, you know, what similarities did I see between the city of Flint and the city of Pontiac, and how did that change the way that I addressed economic development? And the long and the short of it is, both communities have a lot of similarities in the way their governments work and are structured, in the history, the shared history that they have as being General Motors factory towns. And so that really did do a lot to help me as I thought about what Flint needed. And as I look at the city of Flint, the major issue, so if we go back a couple of slides, you already saw the industrial companies that are here, that are coming here and continuing to make investments here. What you don't see in the slides is the fact that we just lost population again. Now, Michigan in general is losing population, so we should expect that Flint should be losing population, but we're losing population at a faster clip than our surrounding communities. And the question there is why? Well, a large part of the answer to that question is availability. We just don't have availability of product. So if you want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home with a yard, if you're not moving into a 50-plus-year-old home, it's a really difficult product to find here in the city of Flint. I mean, that's just one example of products that haven't been built. So we're really focused on bringing new product to the city so that we can continue to be a place where people have a choice to want to be here and raise their family. And we're always actively recruiting new investors. So, you know, we're not just sitting here and saying, well, these are the people who are here and who have been here. We are so lucky to have Kiara have joined us. Her connections and her phone book. So, you know, individuals that she worked with in Detroit, we can bring individuals that I have worked with throughout the state of Michigan, and also a couple of developers that I met while I was down in Georgia. We have them all, and we've been taking them around the city and showing them different opportunities. So that brings us to my last part, and that's you. How can you be a part of what's happening? Well, the first thing is I got to ask you to have a little bit of patience. You know, Mayor Neely is just finishing up his first full year in office. The team had some changes, and we are just getting to a point now where I would say we're beginning to hit a stride to say we have a vision, we have a plan, and we're working it. And so there are going to be little hiccups as far as our ability to move paper, but we're figuring that out. You can invest. And when I say invest, I don't mean that you need to go find $100,000 and be part of a venture capital fund. I mean, you can go down to the food trucks, you can buy something from Bedrock, you can just support the businesses that are here, because 60% of the small businesses in Genesee County are in Flint, but the vast majority of businesses in America are small businesses. And for approximately every $250,000 of spend or revenue that a small business makes, it gives them the necessity to hire another person. And so just imagine that if all of us go and buy one t-shirt, and we all tell one friend to go buy one t-shirt from a small business vendor in the city, how quickly that adds up. And then those new people who are working there, they need to buy lunch. And so then now they've bought lunch, and that restaurant needs to hire a new person. And then that new person has to spend something. And it's a multiplier effect. And so you can invest in it by just supporting the businesses that are here and participate. Please participate in all of the different governmental activities that are going on. You don't necessarily need to be there till 2 o'clock in the morning, but we do need you to vote. And we do need you to fill out the surveys and just let us know what it is that you're missing in our community so that we can work to bring it to you. So I went through all of that. That was about 15 minutes. I'm here for questions. The overarching thing that I will tell you is that everyone wants to know about the ARPA dollars, the CARES Act. The city council passed a resolution that said, hey, we're not going to spend those funds so they accepted the funds, thank you, but they're not going to spend those funds until the final rules and regulations come out from Congress. I can tell you that we are preparing to say, hey, we expect those final rules to be out by the end of September, which is, only another couple of weeks here. And so you should be seeing some resolutions come before city council very quickly, and expect those funds to be heavily targeted towards the activities that we talked about. So targeted towards neighborhood development, targeted toward, and so when you talk about neighborhood development, it's not just houses, it's not just roads and sewers, it is blight elimination. It is making sure that we have the public safety that we need in place. So those are the robust types of things that we're going to be suggesting with those funds. But again, they're not actually going to be expended until we see those final rules released from the federal government. And that takes me all the way to 15 minutes exactly.
Well, thank you, Kalfani, for that great presentation and update, and really overview of all the things that are happening with economic development in the city. I'm sure with this group, there are some questions about economic development in Flint, and so I will open the floor.
This is Lynn Harand. Kalfani, I appreciated your presentation. I think you touched on my question in the last sentence that you spoke. What are we doing to stop the hemorrhaging of people leaving Flint. And that has to do with maintaining our viable neighborhoods. So I guess you kind of answered that with what's coming, but we have so many lovely neighborhoods that are at the tipping point.
So
And
that actually is a great sentiment in question. And I can tell you, we just had in a group of investors yesterday, and one of the things that they wanted to do, and these are not just investors, these are actually investors slash a philanthropic organization. It was made up of individuals who are just very high net worth individuals. And so they came to Flint, and they originally were like, we're going to give back, we're going to clean up, we're going to do this thing. And they drove around, and they actually said, they were like, we had a difficult time finding garbage. So they thought that they were, the stories, the narrative that is out there is that everything in Flint is just torn, is just horrible, it's war torn, it's full of, and they were like, no, we actually had to look for it. And so kudos to our blight department, which has really been doing a yeoman's task of trying to, I call it whack-a-mole, which is ultimately unsustainable, but receiving calls and trying to get out as quickly as possible to clean, whatever blighted situation is there. But Lynn, because whack-a-mole is unsustainable, part of our new plan going forward is to put more people into code enforcement and actually carry through all the way to its logical end, those code enforcement activities, but sticks are not enough, right? So we've already partnered with Michigan State Housing Development Authority, with Habitat for Humanity, with the Mott Foundation, funds from the Kellogg Grant, and we've created the Flint Home Improvement Fund. And so with that fund, any homeowner can apply to that fund for money to repair their home. We know, and we also have Huntington Bank working with us as well. So the way that fund works is based on your income, you either go to that fund and you get a grant, you get a subsidized loan, or you get a market rate loan. But the reason we set up that fund is because we understand that money doesn't move for free. And the institutions that have money and are lending money are not necessarily lending it to Flint in the amounts that we need. So we set up this fund to supplement that. We're going to have additional monies going towards that fund and going towards activities to say, yes, we're stepping up our game in code enforcement, but we're also stepping up our game and making sure that if you are trying to invest in your property, you cannot say that you can't do it because of redlining, because here is money that we have made available specifically and only for the city of Flint.
Thank you.
Finally, a question that I had, last couple of days, I've noticed more what I've seen in, I guess in Lansing, which is businesses that used to be open longer hours or every day. That's now restricted. I think for the first time in my life, I went to the White Horse Wednesday and they were closed. And I don't think it's ever happened to me before, that the horse was closed, on a certain day temporarily. And then yesterday I had an hour to kill about 5 o'clock and had my computers and do some work. Then all 4 coffee shops were closed, or usually 1 or 2 of them would have been open until at least 7. Are you hearing, as you talk to small business owners, that this is a mismatch of talent and opportunity, that they can't maybe identify or locate the workers, or is it a lack of customers because people working virtually during the day or working from home and not eating out, or maybe a combination? Or just what are you hearing from small business owners, particularly about those who have restricted their hours or cut back on the days that they're open?
That's a great question. The answer is both but more specifically, it really is less So the businesses that you mentioned, it's less about access to talent and more about market and trying to say, okay, based on my cash flows, when is it most profitable for me to be open? And I want to maximize being open at those times. And then based on my availability of labor, I may stay open and tweak different things, trying to figure out how I can extend that profitability period. One of the things that is, so these definitely not a small business, but a great canary to watch is Meyer. So we're all familiar with the Meyer 24-hour model, which was suspended by law. And then, the governor's office eventually said, okay, no, you guys can go back to doing whatever you're doing. But we haven't seen them come back as 24 hours. And I think we haven't seen them come back as 24 hours because they ran the model and they were just like, wait a minute. After this time, we just don't sell enough product to make it make sense for us to be open. So I'm really waiting to see November through December. So that period where retailers catch up and move into the black. That's why they call it Black Friday, because traditionally that's the time when retailers move from operating in the red to operating profitably. I like to see how they change that model, because I honestly believe that we have just moved into a new normal, which quite frankly is a return to the 1950s, right? I remember, I was not around in the 1950s, but I remember growing up on Sundays, you could not go to downtowns and spend money. You couldn't even go to the mall. I remember one Easter, something was wrong with my tie, and I can't remember exactly what the problem was, but my mom was insistent that I needed a new tie, and she was thwarted by the fact that no, mall was closed. It was Easter Sunday. It was just, I had to stick with the tie that I had. Oh, actually, she made me wear one of my father's ties. But the point of the matter is, there was a time when we had these restricted hours of operation and the world went by fine. I think we're just moving into a new time. It's very interesting. In Farmington Farmington, there is now a mind wellness gym. So think about going to the regular gym and lifting weights and doing all of the different workouts. Well, there's now that, but it's all about mental health. And so it's about meditation classes and rest, relaxation, and different things. I think we're going to see a change in more of that, more reflection on self. And so that means that we're going to see less spending, which means you're going to have reduced hours of operation.
Great. We've got time for one more question. I see George has his hand up. George?
I have my hand up, yeah. Hey, as an architect, I'm really interested in this planning concierge service that you have. First of all, it'd be nice to know how that works and how we get to it. I've never heard of it before, but it sounds very promising to help get through city approvals and things like that.
Yeah, so great. It really is taking the concept that has always been around, and that is the pre-development meeting. But instead of the pre-development meeting being something that an insider has to know about and ask for, we're making it a part of our process where we strongly encourage you and we tell you, hey, we would like you to do this pre-development meeting thing. But then even after that, assigning a specific person at the city to follow you through your process. So instead of you hearing that, oh yeah, your paperwork is with Bob, call Bob. Oh yeah, you call Bob. He's like, oh no, I gave it to Mary yesterday. Call Mary. You call one person, and that person does all of the internal calls for you. because it's easier for us to go around City Hall or call people on their cell phone and figure out where your paperwork is than it is for you to try to track someone down.
Wow, that's pretty nice. I'd like to see participate in that sometime. Who would I contact? I mean, where do we initiate this?
So you can always contact me, but really when you initiate your contact with the planning department, it should start there. But
Okay.
honestly, just if you're not getting it for whatever reason, just let me know and I will make sure, like, hey, who's he assigned to?
Okay. All right. We'll take you up on that. Yeah, thanks.
Sounds like H2A may be a trial participant in the concierge planning services there, George. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Well, great. Well, Kalfani, thank you very much for your presentation and recognition of your speaking with us virtually today. A donation will be made in your honor to the Rotary Foundation to support the eradication of polio. So we thank you.
Polio? I thought we eradicated polio.
No, polio
We're this
exists.
close.
We're this close. There's parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan, and it was just
wild polio.
eradicated from wild polio. Yeah, yep. We're close. So keep coming back. We'll be able to go get there every presentation. I want to thank the following Rotarians for your service during today's meeting. Reg Lancaster for a great inspirational message. Mia McNeil for the speaker introduction, and thank you to Greg Viner, who I think I may see next week in Mackinac for the meeting notes. I think I saw your name on the list there, Greg. Please join us next Friday for a virtual meeting with an update from Miriam Rasool, who's Executive Director of the Sylvester Broom Empowerment Village. You may be familiar with the Sylvester Broom Empowerment Village on North Saginaw. It's a great institution, and I'm excited to hear from Miriam all that they have going on. Remind you to please serve to change lives as you go about your day. And we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day and enjoy a lovely weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, Jim. How are you? Jim.
He's going.
Muted.
He's muted, but okay.
You can speak.
Who's that?
Bob Bisky.
Jim,
Yes,
so glad to see you.
it's good to see you.
It's 2 weeks in a row.
I mean that I lied to you last week. I was gonna call you and then I don't know, I got confused someplace along the way and I didn't call you.
Well, nonetheless, you've
Thank
been
you.
with us 2 weeks.
Pardon?
It's good. I tried not to sleep through this meeting.
Tried not to do what?
Sleep. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I slept right through the meeting on my computer. I'm sure everybody appreciated it. So I apologize.
Yeah, but we missed you. We don't tell you those things, but we do.
Well, anyway, so nice to see you. And take good care of yourself and Mary. And when a couple of weeks ago, the girls were coming up for a party or something.
The girls.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that's what.
My oldest daughter came up.
Yeah.
She said she had not been to see her dad since he had been sick.
Yeah.
She said that every Monday, girl, she calls, and then she calls sometimes in between. It's worth it. I sometimes wonder what did I do with her that I didn't do for the other two. Got one that I almost never hear from, and then I got one who just kind of shows up.
Well, with 3 children, they're all different. And
you were right about that.
And you try and figure it out. And you say, well, wait a minute. Theoretically, the genes came from the same place, but they got jumbled up somehow. But otherwise,
Yeah. But I enjoy seeing them when I see them and hearing from them when I hear.
yeah.
My youngest daughter, when she comes, it's used to that she comes, she take my car. I don't have a car now, so her child, she don't have anything to take from me.
Well, she shows up, you say, go in the garage and get it. Oh, wait a minute. It's gone.
That might get her in trouble. She might take her mother's car and
Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my.
that might be a problem.
Yeah.
That would be a problem for me because see, I ride with her mother.
Yeah.
Now if she take her mother's car, then we are both caught off guard and
Stranded.
without
Stranded.
transportation.
Well, Uber. That's what you need. Uber. Mr. Latta, you on here?
Say that again.
Don Latta, I see, is on. Still on the screen. As is our Rotary Club president. Was kind enough to keep it open so we can have this conversation. All right. All right. Well, again, Jim, very nice to see you. I am delighted. You're doing well. And we theoretically we go back to.
You probably seen me more often. One of my doctors told me yesterday I have to be more social, so I might need to be out more often.
Well, that is true. That is true. There's no question about it. All right. Somebody just left us. I think the Rotary Club left us and everything else.
Yes.
But Mary, hello.
Yes, sir.
How are you, dear?
I'm okay.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. Jim looks really good. Wide awake in the game, and I'm a little tired. So, but
I'm not as busy as you are, and you're not as old as I am. But that's.
Well, how old are you?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
83.
You're older than I am.
Oh, I know I'm older than you.
Yeah, but that, at this point, we're all moving fast. We're moving fast.
I should tell Reg some of the stuff you want to talk about age and where I am. We might not want to talk about that.
Well, mention it to him. All right. Very good. Gee, you look terrific. You really do. And I'm delighted. And as they said back in coming up in October, they're going to have live meetings again. Whether I don't know how I feel about that at this point, but I'll deal with it when we get to that. Whether
we'll find out how many people show up for the live meeting. That might.
I hope a lot more than have been showing up on average for these. This average is about 30 people.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm stepping away, but I'm gonna leave it open.
Oh, it's okay.
Chat. No, keep chatting. Keep chatting.
Well, it's very nice of you.
You see, we are chatting.
Very nice of him to allow us to use his Zoom time. That he's yeah. What you got going this weekend? Anything special?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think anything special.
Okay.
I'm gonna, when we finish here, see if I can get married. Let's go for a ride. Seems like my doctor says I have to be more social.
nothing like getting out of the house. I mean, you can get a bad case of houseitis. So yes, just taking a ride does a lot for all of us to get outside. I know.
Last time I said to her, let's go for a ride. She says, you just name the place. Well, she likes to go. She has a daughter that, her oldest daughter. If we don't go someplace, her daughter will come and get her and they'll go wander off someplace.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway, that's where we are for today.
Well, I'm telling you, you look the best I have seen you in a long time.
That's because I got a haircut.
What do they cut?
Say that again.
What do they cut?
What did they cut? Well, you look at me now, that's been cut. If you would have seen me last week, it had grown out a little bit more than that.
Well, you look terrific. He did a good job, or she did, whoever. All right. Okay, I gotta go, and I am delighted, and we may be seeing one another if we start live meetings. I will promise to pick you up for at least one of the a month or whatever.
See, before I had a car, and you could come and pick me up. Now I don't have a car, so you have to come and pick me up.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You've put me in the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You look
All
terrific.
right.
You look great. I'm really impressed. Really
Have a
great.
good day.
All right. Be good. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
All right, looks like you guys got done chatting, so I'm gonna close the meeting out. Good to see you, Mr. Kennedy.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
You take care. All right.